Hi everyone! I'm very excited for today's plan. I'm planting my first seeds of 2021. I'm really excited. And I'm going to be using for the first time some reusable seed bags. So we'll see how that goes. I have 6 different varieties of seed with me today. I'm going to be planting some sweet basil, which will live in the windowsill for the colder months. A couple of salad mixes. So this is a spicy mix with some mustard, rocket, and mitsuna. We also have a French Mesclun. So again, that's a salad mix with some red boulder lettuce leaves. That's going to be delicious. And some purslane. I'm really excited. I found those seeds in France. It's called Purslane in French. They're succulent-like salad. So that's going to be really interesting. And I have 2 types of sweet pea. Some annual ones that I did wonderfully for me last year, and a perennial variety of sweet peas. It's a little bit cold today, so I have my coffee and new thermal gloves lined with fleece, so I hope this will be enough to keep the cold at bay for a little while. So I'm going to get started on the repotting and show you how I put up my seeds, how I water them, and where I'm going to set them in my cold frame and in the windowsill. Let's get started! So I have here with me some multi-purpose compost, and what I'm going to do is start by lightly dampening it. And I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of water. So we're in the winter now, so I don't anticipate that you need to add much water, but if you were starting your seeds a bit later on in the year, your compost would be much drier, so you may have to add a little bit more. There's no water dropping out of it, but it keeps its shape nicely, so I'm really happy with that. Of course, I'm going to make a mess. Forgot my potting tray, hold on. Alright, I can't believe I forgot my potting tray. So I'm going to start by filling up my terracotta pots. There goes my coffee. Alright, so you can notice here I'm lightly tamping down the soil just to make sure there's no air pockets. I'm going to start with 1 pot of basil. All the instructions that you need are at the back of the packet, so it's a really good idea to have a look at that first. And here it says that it's suitable for indoor sowing, temperature between 13 and 16 degrees to germinate. So I think my windowsill will be perfect because it does get a lot of light in the afternoon. That you want to sow those 0.5 centimeters deep. So create small wells. So I think I'm going to start 4 plants in that little pot, and we'll see if they need transplanting. So this is what the basil seeds look like. So they're quite small. So I'm just going to grab a few. I'm going to put 2 or 3 per little well that I created. Alright, and here we go. And then I'm just going to, because it said that the planting depth was 0.5 centimeters, I'm just going to scoot back a bit of earth on top. And I'll show you how I water everything carefully just so that I don't dislodge the seeds. So this is sweet basil, so I'm just going to label it here and move that aside. And then I'm going to start with my purslanes. I've never grown this vegetable before, so I'm really excited. So it says here that it will take 10 to 20 days to germination, and it needs a 12-degree soil temperature. So I hope my cold frame will provide that because it's cooler than that right now. Some seeds here come in a smaller packet, and it makes it a bit easier to store them when you don't use them all. Purslane is very interesting to grow because it doesn't bolt in the summer, so it doesn't go to seed with really high temperatures like spinach and lettuce. I'll probably sow some seeds again in 2 weeks' time just to get a succession of crops. And this is purslane. Alright, probably 1 label per pot would be wise. So I have another 2 pots here, and I think I'm going to do another salad mix. I'm going to try this Mesclun. Those seeds will germinate between 8 and 10 days, and again we need a 12-degree minimum soil temperature, so I'm hoping my cold frame will take the cold edge off. Going to try using the reusable compostable seed bags that I bought off of Amazon, so we'll see. what they feel like and whether they actually are compostable, so I'll report back a bit later on. So I ordered a mixed bag with 2 different sizes. So this one is about 10 centimeters tall and this one's 16. So that's really good for different types of seedlings and also for how long you want to leave them growing in those little bags before having to transplant them. I'm going to start with the tallest bag for sweet peas because they do produce really long roots, and so I think they'll be very happy here. My opinion so far is that it's a very efficient packing for, I think this is about 50 bags, so that's quite good compared to the plastic pots. It's like a little bag, you'd fill it with soil, I'll show you in a minute. You'd fill it with soil and you'd have just a little bag like this that you could stack. This is what the small bag looks like. This is a side-by-side comparison. This is the bigger format and here the smaller format. So I have a perforated tray so that the water can drain out, and I filled it with those biodegradable seed starting bags, and I'll now be seeding them. I mentioned this earlier, I have 2 types of sweet peas, a mix called Bijou with different shades of white, pinks and purples. That did beautifully for me last year, so I'm going to repeat that. The germination is 15 to 20 days and they need to be planted 5 centimeters. I think here I'm going to do half that. So this is what sweet pea seeds looks like. They're round and they look like small dark pea seeds. I don't know if you can see here, but it's a really good idea before you bury the seed to just lay them out and then push them in the seed starting mix, just so that you know exactly where you put the seeds and where they are. Because you think you're going to remember where everything is, but you won't. So I'm just going to label that row Bijou mix and just push down the seed lightly. For my second variety of sweet peas, this is perennial, and that's the same. It says plant 4 to 5 seeds per pot and place inside. And those are to be planted out in April, so that's perfect. I'm going to have a great head start and hopefully have really strong seedlings back then. This is what it looks like. You can see my little trio of seeds, and I'm just going to push them down gently in the soil and top up if I feel that it's necessary. And then of course the label. Alright, and now my spicy mix. This is one that is really good, like all salads really, to plant in succession, just so that you get fresh crops every couple of weeks. Last year I had a little patch at home actually in the garden, and they look really pretty and enable me to wait for my tulips and daffodil blooms, so that's something I really recommend. If you have a little patch of your garden where there's nothing to look at, salad can be rather aesthetically pleasing if you pick a variety like a red, for example, that can contrast really well with other types of foliage. You want to sow really thinly for salads because they tend to germinate really well. At least for me, I've had good luck with them. Alright, and now we just push everyone down and we label. So now that everything is planted, what I'm going to do is water everything. It's a really good idea to either use a pump spray, something like you'd use to mist your indoor plants with, for example, but be careful just to use it for water and not put any chemicals on it. This is my very small indoor watering can. I use it for my smaller houseplants and I really like it because it's small and doesn't make a mess. So I'm just going to very gently water everyone in. I don't have to put a lot of water because I dampened the soil already. To help with your germination, you want to keep your soil really moist but not too wet. So this is why it's important to pick containers with a drainage hole, and you want to make sure you monitor them daily for water, just to make sure that the soil doesn't dry out around the seed, otherwise it may not germinate properly. We'll check back in a couple of weeks to see if we have any germination. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!